Moses, peace be upon him, was born in a time when Pharaoh ruled Egypt with an iron fist, having issued a decree to kill every male child of the Israelites, fearing that a child might grow up to lead a revolution against his rule. Moses' mother was a believer, her heart filled with fear for her son. After giving birth to Moses, she decided to protect him from this inevitable fate. God inspired Moses' mother to place him in a box and cast him into the river, which she did with faith. The river carried him until he reached Pharaoh's palace. Pharaoh's wife, Asia, found this child and loved him dearly, convincing Pharaoh to keep him with them. Thus, Moses grew up in Pharaoh's palace, far from the danger of death, yet he constantly pondered his origins and identity. As Moses grew, he was endowed with intelligence and wisdom. Despite his upbringing in the palace, his heart was with the Israelites, who were suffering from oppression and slavery. One day, Moses witnessed an injustice when he saw an Egyptian beating an Israelite. He intervened to save the Israelite and accidentally killed the Egyptian. When Pharaoh learned of this, he ordered a search for Moses, who fled to Midian. In Midian, Moses met Shuaib, a prophet of God, who welcomed him and treated him kindly. Moses worked for him and tended to the sheep, during which time he married Shuaib's daughter. Moses lived a peaceful life, but he never forgot his people and their suffering. Years later, while tending sheep in the desert, he saw a fire blazing from a tree. He approached it and was surprised to hear a voice calling him, "O Moses, I am God, the Lord of the worlds." Moses was given a great mission, to go to Pharaoh and demand the liberation of the Israelites. Moses returned to Egypt, facing enormous challenges. God commanded him to speak to Pharaoh and show him signs and miracles. Moses displayed God's signs before Pharaoh, such as the staff turning into a serpent and his hand emerging white without harm. However, Pharaoh was arrogant and refused to believe in what Moses brought. Pharaoh continued his obstinacy, and God sent down signs and punishments upon him, including frogs, blood, locusts, and others. Yet Pharaoh pretended to respond only to revert to disbelief once the calamity passed. With each sign, the hearts of the Israelites grew hopeful, but they feared Pharaoh's wrath. Finally, God decided it was time for relief. Moses was commanded to gather the Israelites for departure. At that moment, Pharaoh realized what was happening and sent his soldiers to pursue Moses and his people. The Pharaoh's army closed in on the Israelites, who found themselves in a dire situation before the sea. God inspired Moses to strike the sea with his staff, and a great miracle occurred. The sea split in two, opening a safe path for the Israelites. They crossed the sea safely while Pharaoh and his soldiers tried to follow. Once they crossed, God commanded the sea to return to its state, drowning Pharaoh and his soldiers. After these events, Moses settled with the Israelites in the desert, where he received revelation from God. He was given the Torah, a legislation for their lives, from which they learned values of justice, freedom, and faith. The story of Moses, peace be upon him, teaches us much about patience and trust in God, and how faith can liberate peoples from oppression. It reminds us that God is always with the believers, and relief is coming by God's permission. Share this story to inspire others.